Welcome to Mr. Chalk's Revision Tips. In this video, we will look at variation, genetic variation and environmental variation. So, types of variation in biology is any difference between cells of an individual organism or group of organisms in any particular species caused by genetic or environmental differences or factors. So variation describes the diversity in the genetic makeup in the species. Variation arises from mutations. Variation describes the diversity or genetic makeup of a species, like we just said. Variations usually have a small effect on the phenotypes of what a species looks like, but there are lots of examples where it can have a bigger effect on the genotype. So variation in population can be influenced by mutation rate, sexual reproduction, meiosis, all manner of things. Environmental variation is due to the environment, so things like scars or tattoos. So twins demonstrate this because their genes are identical. They do not always look the same. So in plants, environmental factors play a much bigger role. So characteristics of animal and plant species can be affected by factors such as climate, diet, accents, culture and lifestyle, for example. If you eat too much, you'll become heavier. If you eat too little, then you'll be lighter. A plant in the shade of a big tree will have to grow taller to grow light and so forth. Some features vary because they're a combination of both genetic and environmental causes. So, for example, tall parents will pass on their genes for children to be tall. However, if they have a poor diet or if there's something else in play, then they may not reach that height. Mutation is a change in the DNA. So an organism's DNA affects how it looks and how it behaves, and its physiology, so all aspects of its life. So change in its DNA will affect it. So mutations can be beneficial or harmful, but mutations do not try to supply the organism necessarily with what it needs. So in respect to mutations, they are random. Whether a particular mutation is helpful or not is unrelated. So since all cells in our bodies contain DNA, there are lots of places for mutations to occur. However, not all mutations cause evolution or cause variation to take place. Meiosis is the process in which eukaryotic organisms, so those cells, have organised in the nucleus and produce sex cells in male and females. So cells normally have 2 copies of each chromosome, so one donated from each parent. So this is referred to as a diploid chromosome condition, and paired chromosomes are called homologous. Meiosis transforms a diploid cell into 4 haploid granddaughter cells, each having a single copy of each chromosome. So this process helps to increase genetic diversity within a species. Sexual reproduction produces offspring that resemble their parents but are not identical to them. Asexual reproduction often produces clones which are identical to their parents. So organisms have sex cells called gametes. So in human beings, in a male, that's a sperm cell, and in the female, that would be an egg cell or an ova. So sexual reproduction happens when a male and a female gamete fuse together. So the fusion of gametes results in a mixture of the DNA or chromosomes from both the mother and the father, which can lead to genetic variation. So in this way, sexual reproduction leads to a variety in the offspring, like we've just said. Characteristics of animal and plant species can be affected by things like climate, for instance. So this would be a cause of environmental variation. Other examples, things like scars, language, fewer coloured hydrangeas, if it's a plant, which can be caused by how acidic the soil is. And like we've said, genetic and environmental causes can act together. So for something like height, you might have the genes to be tall. However, the number of, or your ability to get that tall might well be affected by your diet.
Thanks for watching.